Alright, kit builders, YouTube, Facebook groups. So this is my recently warrantied out Farmertec tank and my Ankaba, or however you want to say that, badge carb. Emailed back and forth and tried to explain the issue of I have no fast idle. I bought, what was it, 3 kits here. 2 of them had the older style carb that they had a catch right here that would give you fast idle. Basically, Farmertec was cheating for the longest time. I imagine a lot of their pre-builds do this too. And they had another little metal plate underneath here that would interact with your actual throttle, which is this back one. The choke is right there on my thumb, and it would catch the throttle and hold it halfway for fast idle, because I strongly suspect they knew they had a problem inside this throttle and choke assembly. Now, the new style carbs on one of my 3 kits that I ordered here for what would the timing of that have been? I think I ordered them for Black Friday. Anyways, I started getting this carb. This is the second. When I emailed them back and forth, asked them to send me the older style carb, they sent me this guy. Now this shouldn't be an issue if everything from Farmertec worked. This is an OEM style carb. Stihl has everything working within the choke and throttle mechanisms. Alright, so let me try to put this together real quick with one hand. Let me do some wizardry. Get right back to you. Okay, so as I'm prepared to demonstrate here, as is from Farmertec, there's full choke. Okay, so your choke is closed. We come around here and the throttle is cracked open. You can also confirm that if you reach in here. You see how this throttle is not pegged up against the low idle adjustment here. All right, there's a gap. All right, now as I switch this rod up, everything just goes funky, because as I will demonstrate to you, on this choke there should be a notch here. There should be a notch that we're going to cut in line with this little fin. In line with this little piece of plastic, there should be a notch here to catch this spring in electrical contact. We're going to grind with a Dremel tool. We're going to grind in a little notch right here. Alright, so the first thing to do, and I'm going to show you some other tricks that all kind of work together. The first thing to do is there's a Phillips head screw down inside this handle. So we're going to take this all apart. It's not, there are some springs, but you really shouldn't lose anything. It's not too crazy packed in there. Okay, so you get that apart, and here's what you're looking at. You've got your, this is part of your kind of safety trigger interlock. Okay, when you put this back together, that spring goes underneath there and back in. I will tell you that is a significantly stronger spring than the last kit I was just playing with. Anyway, so get that out of there. This throttle rod just pulled out of the hole to the side, and then this should pull out. I'm going to get my other hand back here. Hold on. Alright. If you play with this thing for an hour or two, as I have, out of sheer boredom, because all my OEM parts didn't show up like they were supposed to on Friday, so I had a whole weekend of boredom in trying to reverse engineer what Farmertec had screwed up. So this lever here coming off the choke and interacting with the throttle here, that is effectively what's giving us our fast idle. And I'm going to show you a couple things that we're going to do. Near as I can tell, This part is relatively fine. I'm gonna try to get this choke rod out of here. You gotta, yeah, hang on here. All right, so here's our choke lever, and you gotta kind of jiggle and wiggle and pull the electrical contact out right there. So there's a few things we're gonna slightly modify on this guy. Now, I'm sure Farmertec would argue, and their manufacturers and plastic molders would argue all the angles are correct. Now, I don't have a Stihl OEM one to compare it next to, but near as I can tell, that's largely correct. Mechanically, it's mostly there. As I described, we're going to cut in a notch right here. Now, the other thing I've noticed is there is a subtle plastic ridge on this little hook, I'm going to call it. This middle hook for orientation here. Okay, I'm going to put my finger on it right here. On the surface, it's kind of rough. And if you look real close, there is a raised plastic ridge. Can you see it there? From when they molded this guy. So I'm going to take some emery cloth and sand that smooth. And the reason that's important is that interacts on the tip of your throttle here. And if that catches, then as you switch that from full choke up to half, you will lose your fast idle many times. So that's one little trick I found. Alright, so I took some fine emery cloth here, and on my actual throttle, if I can get this thing to focus, there's also a plastic ridge right on the tip of this. See that little rounded? So I took the edge off of that from the mold, and same on here. You don't want to be real aggressive, just something super fine, and just take that little plastic mold burr off, okay? And that should help those two interact smoothly. You could probably even get away with just a tad bit of 2-cycle oil or silicone or something to make that slide slicker without catching. And now I'm gonna get out the Dremel tool, and again, right here on this flat, they're missing the critical little notch that lets our spring actually stay in place. And that's a critical spot there that lets the choke fully open, but then should still give us a cracked open throttle. So work on cutting a V groove in that. Alright, so I cut a very, very crude groove. If you have I couldn't find a circular Dremel tool bit, so I crudely ground it with that and then carved the rest with a knife. I mean, it doesn't take much. It just has to be there. You just got to have something. This is a pretty stiff spring. You just got to have a V groove of some type, and you got to have it in the right spot. So that's most of it. Again, from what I see, the plastic, the rubber seems to kind of be the weak spot on a lot of these Farmertec kits. They do 80% of the work, and that's where us kit builders kind of got to go in and polish it and do the rest of it. But so you put it together, and if you're right here and you fiddle around with stuff, it works sometimes and sometimes it don't. Here I got fast idle, but I guarantee if I play with it again and I switch it, yeah, now I got nothing. It just kind of switches over, and I got stuff moving around on me. So I got frustrated the first time and continued on before I realized this pre-filter has notches there to hold your choke rod, and that really takes a lot of the slop down. So if we push this in here, get that nice and flush, or we go to hell, it starts working. So if you look in there, I'll be darned, we got fast idle. and now it clicks off, and now my throttle's shut. So we'll do it again here. It's not a fluke. We fixed her. And there's my fast idle. I'll be darned. Now she's shut. So that's some quick down and dirty fixes to get stuff right.